All right, everybody. So this is kind of get into stage two. We are getting into stage two. So you can see my drawing so far. I haven't really tackled anything on this area here because I'm focusing on my home base, my point of reference, and I'm kind of spiderwebbing myself out of that central point. So I don't want to do anything over here. I mean, I can rough out some areas and just to get a sense of the composition, and that's what you should do. But you're not going to do anything more than just that. And then once you kind of walk your way over and you're committed to this, and you know that's right, you're committed to this, and that's right, then you can start to commit to areas here. But you don't want to go too far away from here until you know that area is right. So I don't want to hit any of this until this is done. I don't want to hit any of this until this is done. So right now I'm going to go back to where I started here, and the light has changed in this room and I can't see my drawing as well. So I might open the window or open the shades on the window to get some more light in. But I'm just going to start here, and then I'm just going to do another round real fast, and I'm going to slowly work my way out of this spot, and then it will just evolve on its own. But in a way, I'm kind of doing even though this is stage one is complete, there's elements of stage two in it because I'm identifying light values, mid-tones, darker tones. I'm articulating certain areas. That's going to happen in each and every stage. It's just the third stage is you're kind of out here, then you do one big or two big kind of final phases. So right now in the second stage, I'm just going to work here, and I'm going to spiderweb out a little bit more. So I'll do a time lapse eventually. If there's something here I just want to point out, but let me open my window. Okay, I'm back. All right, that helped me out a little bit, I think. The other thing I want to mention is my tools. You can kind of see them. I do have a pencil sharpener, and you're going to start using this charcoal pencil quite often, but students get really frustrated with this because it does break whenever you sharpen it. But if you have this pencil sharpener, which is a good one, it's Faber-Castell, there's 3 different holes. There's one for jumbo, there's a regular graphite pencil, and there's one for color, if you read the little things. If you put this in the graphite one, the jumbo one, it doesn't really break your point. It's nice. I tried it in the color, and that's where it should be working, but it doesn't work that well there. And it works in the jumbo, and it might work in a graphite, but it does break often, and it becomes annoying. You can carve it with a knife, but I think it's annoying too. So again, this is my home base. From your point of view, it doesn't look, I watched the video and it looks like this actually peters down, but from my point of view, this angles up. And I'm just going to kind of walk through it and start to articulate it more. The more you go through certain areas, the more you're going to see. And then eventually I'm going to spiderweb my way out, as I said a minute ago. One thing I do want to point out though, this is a good example of what's happening throughout the entire drawing. If you look at this right here, there's a lighter value at the top. There's a mid-tone here in the middle. There's a dark cast shadow there, here. And then there's a reflected light here because the light bounces off and then comes back up and reflects back underneath the surface as it wraps underneath. And if you look at this, this is what I have. I have a light value. I have a middle tone value. I have a darker cast core shadow, core value, and then I have a reflected value here. Then it gets super dark here, and that's just because of the fold that's happening there. And I just found another little moment where I can take my kneaded eraser and lighten it just a little bit because the fold starts to get a little lighter right there, and that might be it. That might be enough. You'd be surprised on how much you can take off with just a little bit and it suggests the form. Sometimes it's just a little bit. There's no magic to it. You just draw what you see. If the value transitions slowly, you make a slowly transitioning value. If there's a hard edge, you make a hard edge. If it goes up on an angle, you make it go up on an angle. There's nothing magical or mysterious about this. It's just learning the materials and what you can do. Basically what this is you're putting charcoal on a surface and you're smearing it, and there's more quantity and less quantity. Less quantity meaning there's less quantity charcoal here because it's very light, and there's more quantity charcoal here because it's dark, and then there's different variations of the quantity of charcoal because of the value. So I will stop my video and I'm just going to draw in time lapse, and hopefully you can pick up what I'm doing. All right, so I'm at a point now where I don't have to look at the camera. I'm at a point now where I have this part established in terms of where things are. I mean, there might be some small micro movements, some adjustments in terms of a value here, a value there, but I have everything kind of set. At the very end, I decided to use my white charcoal pencil and white charcoal and all that stuff to kind of bring it into a high resolution, but I'm gonna, again, I'll remake that evaluation at the end, but right now I'm thinking I'm going for it. The nice thing about this is that you really have to pay attention. It starts to look like an abstract painting, that's why I said that before, because of all the chaos that's going on there. But you can start to make things out. You can see that this is the sleeve of the sweatshirt. This is the opening of a sock, and you can kind of see the stripes starting to form with the sock. The tricky part about this is you have to differentiate between one value and another. And oftentimes when you have a pile of clothes, there's going to be some values that if you took a black and white photograph of it, it's going to be the same thing. For example, the sock, there's pink and blue and tan colors and black, and the pink's probably the lightest value there, or the sand, whatever you want to call it. And that's easy to put in. I just put a couple of those in real quickly. The other ones are more difficult because they're almost the same value as the brown in some cases, the lighter end of the brown or whatever. So I might have to later on differentiate, say, you know what, I'm gonna make that lighter or darker than what's behind it so you can see it. So that would be just something I'll determine. The other thing I'm starting to really trying to push now is this light gray fabric that you see popping throughout here. It's almost sandwiched between the dark here and then the dark black t-shirt down here at the bottom. I've decided to put some of the table in, and that's what this light value is here, the table that's here, to kind of give it a sense of a ground plane. And it shows that there's a pile of clothes on this flat surface. The one thing that's difficult is the light above me is blinding me, so I think I might have to build some kind of a covering here so my eyes can see this and not be blinded by the light. So I'm going to do that next time. So I've worked down here quite a bit on that last video, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start working up in this direction. And you might see the graphic of what that says is main, the white text that's on there. I might put that in, I might not. I probably will eventually. I don't know if you will be able to make it up. It's not important, but I'm just trying to get up here finished. And at the very end, I'll probably not videotape myself and I'll do the left side because I have to put my body way over here. And then I'm gonna articulate it and tighten things up and maybe possibly make focal points. But right now I'm happy, I'm pleased with what's happening here. But the reason I stopped you, main reason I stopped you, is you have to remember where your home base is. And this is my home base, this is my point of reference. It's where I build out from. And so I've worked down here, I've roughed in areas here. I haven't gone over here, I can't see it that well. And then now I'm gonna go up. That would be my next move, but just kind of go in this direction and then come back down and maybe go in that direction. Each time I come back down, I tighten it up. But right now I'm happy with things. Of course, I can do another round here and clarify that. I could clarify everything, but right now I know where things are, and that's the opening of the sock. I know where this is. The location of the items are fine. And if you noticed in the video, I was doing a lot of this because I was trying to line things up. For example, the edge of this sleeve opening from my point of view, if I drew a line straight up, it went kind of right around this section of my reference point, my home base. And so if I draw a line right up here, mine does the same. And by doing stuff like that, the distance between here and here is going to be good. Distance between here and here is going to be good. And then the other, I think I even measured something. I measured the width of the arm, or measured, or the opening here, and I compared it to something else. And that helped me out quite a bit. But if you just start going rogue and you don't use vertical or horizontal alignments, it's just going to be all over the place. You're going to be patchworking things together and band-aiding this more than actually doing the video or the work. And then, lastly, one thing I did here was a horizontal alignment. I talked about vertical, drop a line, the vertical line, you can kind of line things up. I was trying to see where this ended. Actually, no, I was putting this part of the sock in here, which is the pink. It's not that clear, it's kind of fuzzy, but right, that's where this was here. But I wanted to see where the end of the sock was. And so I lined it up with this guy because I'm now committed to where this is. So I just used a horizontal line, and it looked like it met it about right here. So I drew a line right over, and that's where it meets. So things are starting to work out. And I call this longitude and latitude alignment when you're trying to find, say like Hawaii or something, and it's 44 degrees north and 28 degrees west. I have no idea if that's true, but the same way you're trying to find a location, you're doing the same thing here, because this is like looking at a map of the sea. You don't know what's what, and you need some kind of organizational method to figure out where things belong. So why not a map? It works perfect. Or not a map, but a vertical lines and horizontal lines. All right. Hope all is good. All right, so we're still in stage 2, and stage 2 is basically moving around, spiderwebbing yourself out of your home base here, and I'm going to move up in this direction. I've kind of established all this. I've established this enough to where I can get that towards the very, very end. I haven't done any of this because I can't really see the way I have the camera set up. So I'll try to hit that also in stage 2. Right now what I'm going to do is just hit the time lapse and speed this thing up. But a couple things here. When you're developing your composition, or you're developing your drawing, composition is going to work its way up. Look for areas of high contrast. You can kind of see right here where the sleeve of the sweatshirt is, and the sleeve of this, or the opening of the sock, which is right here and right here. Behind that, there's a nice light value. So that's a great area to get a high contrast that can grab your eye and kind of hold the eye. It anchors the drawing, kind of allows you to understand something. It's like, okay, I understand that, and it anchors the eyes. So that's good, and I can articulate that even further later, but at least I have my location, my placement, the angles, all that is done, and I have the value structure set enough to where I can even push it further later on, but I'm just breaking it down into 3 or 4 shapes in terms of the value structure. So the way you want to think about this is, as I'm moving up here, I'm kind of reverting back to stage 1, taking out big shapes and slowly corralling this thing to smaller shapes. And then those shapes are basically values, but those shapes either transition slowly from one value to another, or there's a hard edge between one value and another. And that's kind of what stage 2 is about. So you're somewhat dancing back between stage 1 and stage 2 as you're spiderwebbing yourself out of this area. But a good example of the value structure right here is my number 1. That's the lightest value that I can get. That's my 1. This is my darkest value. So I can use those two as a range to find my midtones. And there's a bunch of midtones here. So there's one value here, there's another value, there's another value, there's another value. But if you add these up, there's 1, 2, 3. Those two are the same. I'd say 4 values tops in terms of like what's going on in some of these areas. You can see my home base part where it goes really light and it transitions to dark. Not really light, just like maybe like a 2 or 3. Transitions to dark and then transitions back to light again, but it's soft transitioning. And then behind it, there's a hard edge between dark and not light, but like I'd say 3 or 4. So it's a dark sweatshirt. So as I'm working my way up, I'm going to try to articulate all those folds. And there's some text up there that I've been trying to stay away from at the moment and just try to get some other parts established. So if there's any areas that are so complicated, you're like, you know what, I'm going to hold off on that until later on. That's fine, because you're going to learn a lot when you're trying to figure the rest out. All right, so I'm going to keep going.